Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about getting out of debt. Now, I haven't really covered getting out of debt as much as I've liked to in the past, but I have touched on it, but I've never really touched into a lot of detail. And so for me and my wife, we're actually almost out of debt, and it's actually pretty cool to, as the journey, as you're getting out of more and more debt, to see how much more freedom you have. And so the other day I was just going through our credit reports, because I kind of do that on a regular basis, because we kind of have a goal of trying to break that 800 credit score by the end of the year. And so pretty much every update, like today was an update for our credit, and I was looking to see some increases. I saw like an increase of like 1 point. So at this point it's kind of like moving snail pace, trying to get past that 800 mark. But what happens is anytime I take a look at our credit, I always skim to see if there's anything that doesn't look right on there, and I look at our debt that we have. So pretty much the only debt that we have really is our mortgage and a little bit of school loans left, right? So if you take our mortgage away, we really don't have that much debt at all anyway. So and we've been through that process of paying down debt and things like that over the lifespan of our marriage, which is about 14 years. We've went through like kind of a up and down just a little bit because of the things that have changed in our life. So years ago I learned about credit, about debt and investing, and so I've something that I've studied and actively worked towards all the time. So in this video, I thought I'd give you guys some tips and things that we actually do that's been helping us and that's helped us thus far, and maybe it can help you too. So that way you can, start to free up a little bit more of your money, and you start to be able to do things like maybe make investments, or, allow your money to make money for you, things like that, whatever it is. Not spend and make bigger purchases. No, that's not the purpose of that. But I just thought I'd share some tips with you guys. So the first tip is to have a reality check. Yes, a reality check. This is your come to Jesus moment. This is your, hey, let's put all on the table moment. So this is where you start to look at everything that you owe. All right. So there's two categories that you want to look into of things that you owe. Now, one is the debt that you have, right? That is like if it's school loans, car loans, hospital bills, credit card debt, things like that. And then you want to look at your household expenses. Those are things like your normal bills, like your electric, water, whatever it is, your heating, if you have cable, internet, things like that, your mortgage, things like that, which are more so household expenses. Now, yes, your mortgage is a household expense and it is debt, but you'll understand what I'm saying, because there's a difference in what it takes for you to pay in order to, live in your house and for things to be okay with you and your family. And then you have your debt, which is most likely outside of that sometimes. So you want to be able to have these things split so you can see how much it is that you have to pay out every single month, and then how much debt that you guys are currently holding. So those are the categories that you're looking into. Now, as you start to write these things down and start to add up to see how much it is that you're spending each month for as far as your household, you also want to take a look in to see how much it is that you are spending around, I don't know, like maybe junk food, maybe restaurants and eating out, or buying clothes, or if whatever spending habits you have, you want to start to document it. So one of the things I normally tell people to do, which is simply easy, is go get a bank statement, because not everybody has different things that they can use to track their expenses. But just go take a bank statement and use colored highlighters. And for your expenses, like household expenses, that can be one color. For restaurants and retail stuff, that can all be another color. Things that are not necessarily essential for your living. And you want to be able to add up those things that are non-essential, right? Like your restaurants and eating out, and see how much of it that you are currently spending, every single month that you might can change. And oftentimes what happens is you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Sometimes, depending on the situation, you might find thousands of dollars. And so that's something that you want to be able to take note of, because that means you're going to have to maybe make some adjustments in your spending. And so you want to know how much it is that you have to pay every single month, the unnecessary spending, and then you want to know exactly how much debt it is that you have. So here's the second thing I want you to think about. Now, you're going to have to change your mindset, all right? So that means, you're going to have to create new habits, You're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to have to work on discipline and just work on changing your mindset. You have to start thinking about changing your mindset. Now, for me, one of the things that I did, which was like 14 years ago, 15 years ago, is I started studying and learning about finances on a whole new level. And I really pushed very hard. And so I started doing things like I really never really watched TV like in the last 11, 12 years. And I'm just now kind of getting back to watching TV for, a little bit, but really not TV, but just like maybe an episode or something, or like a series of something I may find interesting that I might watch while I'm doing work or something like that. But I still don't really watch much TV. Now the NBA is back this week, so I will actually be watching that because I have not really sat down and watched like a consistent, just layer of sports in a long time. The reason is because I spent a lot of time growing and learning to change my mindset. Like till this day, I spend more time doing that than I do, indulging in entertainment. So I'm always looking to grow and learn. And so one of the areas that I spend a lot of time growing and learning is economics, finances, investing, all these different things. Because a lot of times these things change, and so you also have to pay attention to whatever changes that may come. So you're going to have to work on your mindset and get used to not, trying to be the same way that you were before if you ever want to get to a place of being debt free or just being able to take some of the pressure off your neck with the debt that you have. Understand this, it doesn't matter how much information you get. It doesn't matter if you watch this video, 1,000 videos, you do research for years. If you never change your mindset, that's your foundation. If you never change it, it won't matter. Because the only thing you'll do is continue to do whatever it is that you're doing now. And if you're really, really in debt and really have a bad habit of spending money, then when you don't change your mindset, then nothing's going to change. So take that as a very serious note. It's not something to just say in a video, but it's very serious. Now, the third thing you have to do is you're going to have to investigate what's actually on your credit and the debts that you have. Now, let me explain to you why you want to investigate. So if you go on your credit, look in your credit, now you can get free credit reports from several different places. So it's not something that's hard to find. Now, if you go get your free credit report, or if you regularly already have a credit app or something like that, you want to be able to look into and see exactly what's on your credit. You want to investigate. The reason why you want to investigate, because sometimes you have things on your credit that you may have paid off, but it's just sitting up there. And you can get that removed off your credit easily. Now, I don't want to make this about credit, but that's just part of the process, which I'll have to maybe make another video about credit. So, because one of the things that we do have is we have a credit card, and we use our credit card to actually build our credit. And that's very different from what, I grew up learning, like you just don't ever get a credit card. And there's a reason why you don't ever really need to get a credit card. And there's a good reason why you can use a credit card. But you want to investigate your credit report, and you want to be able to see what's on there. So that way that helps you to list out what it is that you owe. And you want to try to get some accuracy around that, because sometimes you can have, some bills or some debts that's coming to your mailbox, and it's saying you owe this bill. And this bill has been, made 7, 8, 9 years old, and they're still calling you about this bill. Now, the bill isn't on your credit report, but you're still getting calls about it. Now, sometimes what happens is you just have to do an investigation. Sometimes instead of dealing with the collector, call the place where you had the bill from in the first place. Because sometimes what happens is those places will write your bill off, and they will just sell the debt to someone else. But technically you may not even owe them anymore because it's been so long. All right. And so there are some different areas that do that, like, if it's like a phone company, or it's like a bank account or something where you had a really bad overdrawn amount of money and things like that. After a while, those things get written off and tossed into the sea of forgetfulness. So they never even acknowledge the fact that you were ever a customer or you had a debt. So do your due diligence around finding out what's really yours and what's not, because you don't want to waste time spending money on something that you actually no longer owe because it's been, 5, 6, 7 years and it's just been written off. Now, on your credit, whatever you do see, yes, you want to make sure you do investigate. Because now with investigating, sometimes, as you get into the process of starting to contact, your debt collectors, or, whoever you owe your debt to, Sometimes you'll be able to work out different deals, and sometimes you might not owe as much as you think. But just being able to find out, exactly what's this and what's that, but just know so that way that you have, you're not just giving money away to something that you don't need to. So that brings me to number 4, which is creating a strategy, right? So you want to start to create a strategy. Now, having a strategy is something that you're going to use in order to tackle each bill or each debt, right? It's something you're going to use to tackle each debt, and something that you're going to use to carry out through the process, all right? So the strategy is something that you want to start to, write out, and you want to, if it's you, your wife, your family, maybe start having a conversation. And there's so many different strategies that you can use during the time of, like, just really focus on paying down debt. You can have strategies to where you guys could have, like, a vacation jar where you put money into a jar, and because you're not spending as much money as you normally do, right? So you're giving your family, like, hope for, hey, we're not doing this, that, and the other for these 6 months, but in month 7 we're going to do this, or in the summer we're going to do this. However you choose to strategize that, because you can make it so that it's very rewarding for you and your family to pay off debt. Because a lot of times when people think about paying off debt and budgeting, they get this dark gloom, like it's not fun, it's not exciting, and sometimes it may not be, but you can, add little things with your strategy that helps, where it can be something as simple as, hey, this is what we're going to do for 3 months, and then, the 4th month we're going to do this 1 week. Or it can be, hey, we don't eat out, anymore, but we eat out only on Fridays or something like that. For example, what we do with our kids sometimes is we allow them to, have a pizza day, and their pizza day may be like, on a Friday. It'll be a pizza and movies, right? So things like that where, it gives some incentive towards being diligent over, your money. Which a part of that strategy, number 5, is changing the way you spend your money. I don't think there is a whole lot to say about that, but the way you currently spend, you might need to change it, especially if you have any bad spending habits, like, which you can find that out once you start to see exactly what you're spending every single month. Because a lot of times we spend things we don't know. We'll go to the store every day and spend $3 here, $4 there. We're like, it's not that much money. But if you're doing that, 2 or 3 times a day, so let's say it's something like you're spending like $15 a day here and there, $3 here, $4 there, $6 here, whatever. And then, you're spending this like almost every single day or 5 days a week, right? And that starts to add up. And it starts to add up, and that money that you add up can also be used to help you get out of debt. It can be used to help you get rid of some debt, pay some things down, once you start to kind of discipline yourself and seeing, how can I not spend this money like that? Just like we talk about eating out. Eating out is, the quickest thing to do. We have 3 kids, so I understand, like, especially with everything's been going on in the pandemic, it can be very easy to say, I don't feel like cooking, we don't need to cook nothing, just order something. But when you're really dedicated towards a bigger goal, then you can start to actually say, well, why don't we get a little bit more diligent over the way we do our meal and our eating and things like that. Overall, just changing the way that you spend your money. This is time for you to start being a little bit smarter about how you let go of money, what you buy. Even if it's something that you need to get, you can maybe say, hey, well, let me check and see if I can find it cheaper somewhere else, and you might be able to do just that. Like, there are some things that we were doing around our house, and so we want to do some small renovations or whatever, large renovations during this time. And so some of the work that, we're doing ourselves, one, because I like doing that work, but 2, also it helps to save a lot of money. Then I can use the money that I would have spent to, help do something else. Now, the method that I talk about, which is the 6th thing I want you to understand, is we do what you call the snowball method. That's the name of it. Now, when I first started doing this method, I didn't know anything. I didn't know it had a name, which was like 14, 15 years ago. But it's basically paying from smallest to largest. And so once you have that list of all your debts and things that you need to pay off, you want to list from smallest to largest. Well, why do you want to do that? Because it's easier for you to pay the smallest stuff off first than it's the largest. Now, depending on the type of debt that you may have, you might have to look into other different methods, like the avalanche method, which is like the opposite of the snowball. But depending on your situation, you want to kind of, be able to assess that yourself. But the snowball method is highly effective, and one of the reasons is because you're actually making progress. What a lot of people think is, like, if they have, let's say if they have 5 different things that they need to pay off, right? That's like a debt, right? Or that's not, household related. So a lot of times people say, well, why don't I just split money up between that? So they can have like, $500, and they'll put $100 on this one, $100 on that one, $100 on this one, $100 on that one, $100 on this one. And seemingly, it seems like things are working. Now, if there's interest with those things, and that interest payment is not being met, then you're just incurring more interest, even though you put $100 on it. But what's happening is you're getting rid of things incrementally. So let's say that same scenario, you have 5 things, and you got $500 that you're going to put down on these debts. Well, the first debt is $200. The second debt is $300. The third one's $400. The fourth one's $500. The fifth one's $600. Well, you could take that $500 and pay off the first one, that $200 one. Bam, that's done. And then you can pay off the second one because it's $300. And so you spent $500 and literally paid down 2 debts. So now the second one is now paid off, and bam, you only have 3 debts left now to pay. Do you see like how much more progress you get with that type of method than you do with, well, let me sprinkle, a little money on everybody, let me sprinkle, And one of the things that happens with that is you have a huge sense of accomplishment when that happens. Now, one of the things when you pay off a debt, make sure you get, whoever you're paying the debt to, whatever, to send you a letter or some confirmation that debt has been paid off. So in case that stuff stays on your credit, you can send it to the creditor, say, hey, this is taken care of, get this off my credit, right? So the snowball method is very effective, and I recommend that for most people. Like, hey, just pay off the smallest thing and work your way up. And that way you can actually start to actually see yourself making progress. And that's going to give you a lot more confidence to continue to pay down your debt. So number 7, something you want to consider. Now, if you do have to make any purchases and things like that where it may cost you a couple $100, whatever, look for other ways to make purchases. All right, for example, if you need to get another car, well, do you need to get another car right now, or can you maybe wait 6 months and save up money to maybe buy it whole? Right? Or can you maybe wait, a year or 2 years, save up the money and just pay the car off, without having to have a payment? Now, if you're in a situation where it's like, well, no, I'm going to have to get a car and I'm going to have a payment because I don't have it. Well, can you hold off on 6 months and save up even more and more money to be able to pay down on the vehicle so you don't have that much of, like a monthly payment? All I'm saying is, delay your self-gratification. Like I said, if you need it, still try to strategize, try to figure out a way, how can I do this in the best way that I do not pay, a whole lot of money? So try to figure out, how can I do this in the best way that I'm not incurring a big expense, every single month? Which paying things whole is like number 8, just making purchases. Like, don't buy it if you can't buy it. Like, if you have a credit card and you can't buy it, then that means you don't have the money. But if you have the money and you want to use your credit card, you use that money to pay it off later, before the bill comes, then that's different. And so let me back up, because one of the other ways of looking to make purchases sometimes we don't really think of is like, say, for example, if you do get a vehicle and you have a loan. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the reality of it is everybody's not in the same situation. Some people will be able to save to pay off, just to buy their car whole, for example. I'm using a car as an example. And some people won't, because they might just need to have a car now. So number 9, as you are making your accomplishments and as you are striving, don't forget to celebrate. All right, like I talked about, it's okay to maybe create some things within your strategy, but don't forget to celebrate, right? You pay off a debt, you pay off another debt, and then you can say, you know what, we're gonna go out and we're gonna have, a good old time at a restaurant, or I guess whatever we can do now in the middle of a pandemic. But let's just say, for example, say, hey, we're gonna, like I talked about, with my family, hey, let's order pizza or whatever, or something like that. And you can do whatever you choose to do to make it some type of make it enjoyable, because you want to celebrate your accomplishments. You don't just want to just be making all these sacrifices and never give yourself a pat on the back. That's the purpose of having a plan, so you can feel good about what you're doing. It doesn't mean you have to go and spend a whole lot of money. It could be something where it's like, well, we normally go on 3 vacations a year. Well, this year we're only going to go on 2, or this year we're only going to go on 1. But that one we go on, we're going to add just a little bit extra to make it just a little bit more special. however you choose to congratulate yourself and celebrate, just make sure the celebration doesn't wipe out all the work that you've done. Number 10, be consistent. A lot of times when you look at get out of debt videos and things like that, a lot of times you're thinking like, man, these people make a lot of money and that's how they're able to do it. Well, no, that's not the case. Some people don't make a whole lot of money to get out of debt. What they do is they just learn to be consistent. Now, there's a big difference between if you were paying, like, let's say $25 on this debt and you weren't paying anything on it. Every little bit helps. Or if you're paying an extra $25 on top of the bill that for that debt to get it paid off earlier versus not. So being consistent matters, because consistency is what's going to cause you to win. You got to learn to be consistent, what goes along with changing your mindset. So every little bit helps, and just being consistent can take you a very long way. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, yes, and getting out of debt. Do you need to make more money? Well, it depends on your situation. However, there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle or having a business and you take on some extra clients and you hustle a little bit just to make some extra money. There's nothing wrong with earning more income. In fact, most of the people, when you see them having those great stories of like, I paid off my house and I did this, a lot of times they find other ways to, one, save money, so not spending so much money, and then two, making more money. And so a lot of times people don't really ever look into like, well, what if I acquire a side hustle, or if I start a business, or if I take on extra clients within my business or whatever to maybe be able to get a little bit extra money. Or if I decide to take on this task from my job that's going to give me a bonus just so I can use that bonus to help pay down debt or whatever, pay off some debt, those are things you can consider. So whatever it is, if you have a business or if you don't have a business and you want to start a side hustle, there's a ton of ways to make extra money out here right now, selling stuff online, delivery, Uber, Lyft, all this other stuff. There's so many different things that you can do out here to make extra money, period. So yes, making extra money can only work in your benefit. Of course, maybe make sure that you assess your situation, your time, and things like that. That's one of the things a lot of people don't really know about getting out of debt is, make as much money as you possibly can now that you have changed your mind and you're doing these things, and you'll be able to save more, you'll be able to invest more, and once you see that money start to decrease of how much you are currently paying out, and then you see your money that's coming in increasing and your debt is going down and your income is going up, or that gap between the two is there, it's a really good feeling when you have more money that you can do things with than normal. So hey guys, these are just some tips and things that me and my wife have done to help us along our debt-free journey, and hopefully they can help you guys too. Feel free to ask a question, comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. See you guys on the next video. Peace.